I'm John Batchelor, Larry Kudlow, my colleague and co-host, and we're welcoming James Pethokoukis, Jimmy Pethokoukis of the AEI, a columnist and blogger for AEI on money and politics, when we charge right now to the future of the Republican Party and the immigration reform. Jim, a very good new year to you and good evening. Your blog for AEI points to the fact that the Republicans, in general, I'm generalizing, fear immigration because they see it as vote-getting for the Democratic Party, and the debate is always adding on the threat that we'll lose in the future forever. However, what I find from your column is that the Republicans have an opportunity here they're not looking to gain from. What opportunity? How does immigration make the Republican Party stronger? Good evening to you, Jim.
Good evening. I'm extraordinarily worried about the defeatist attitude, where they only view this as a problem. It's going to be very divisive for Republicans. We need to not talk about it, or we have to talk about it next year or the following year. I'm sitting here, looking from the fine National Review website where I do a weekly column, an article by Phyllis Schlafly, basically saying no more immigration. Asians, Hispanics, they're all going to vote Democrats. No, forget about just low skill versus high skill. No more immigration. So that's where the debate has actually moved, rather than be, I think, moving toward a positive direction where there might be some sort of compromise. It's moving in the other direction toward a complete, not just restriction, a prohibition on immigration. I hope this doesn't reflect where the Republican Party is going, because this could be a tremendous opportunity, not only to do better politically among Asians and Hispanics. And there's no reason Republicans should not be able to get at least middle class and upper class Hispanic and Asian votes, but also to do something about the economy, which needs a boost. High-skill immigration, at the very least, it would be a tremendous asset for this economy. I don't see how the U.S. in the future will be a dynamic, prosperous country if the route the United States takes is keep out all the immigrants.
Jimmy, I think that's where the GOP should go. The brainiacs. I would go for the brainiacs. I would increase visas for people, electrical engineers and other professionals. I'd increase them. I'd double it. I might even triple it. What is it, 60,000 now? I would just jump that hugely. And I'd also increase the visas for foreign students who graduate from American colleges. I think that's a great spot for the GOP to be in. And I think that's a natural selection politically as well.
Let me bundle all this up, because Jim and I were talking about this, Larry. The United States is unique in its trading partners to providing only 13% maximum of our visas for workers. The vast number goes for family reunification. Germany gives 70% for workers, the UK 50% for workers. So what you're saying, Larry, you can go much more aggressively. Our economy prospers if we bring in well-educated, skilled workers who contribute and then again are excellent prospects for citizens. Jimmy, that's the argument the Republicans are not seizing upon. We have an upside down policy that is not right, that doesn't compete with the rest of the world.
Right. Other countries are far more hard-headed. I mean, good heavens, you should see the guest worker program Canada runs. They bring these guys in, no families. They keep them under their thumb. They're not sentimental about this in other countries. They look at immigrants as what they can do economically for their countries. Now, I'm not saying that's all we should do. I think we need to have a certain number of visas for humanitarian reasons, which probably should go to some of the poorest countries, which actually would be better than foreign aid for those countries, because these people would be sending back money. But high-skilled immigrants are a huge asset. And my concern, and I've brought this up with Larry several times at his show, that the debate in Republicans, it's shifting. It's shifting from we're worried about amnesty and all this low-skill immigration is going to hurt working class, to just no immigration, because we'll never win these votes. And what you're going to end up with is a country that's going to be much whiter, much older, and stagnant. Not a dynamic economy. So if you want to be the Republican Party and you want to govern that country, good luck.
Jimmy, let's look at the politics for a second. So I know the Phyllis Schlafly thing, and Ann Coulter's also written about this, but I'm not sure I agree with these politics. I mean, I think you can say the majority of immigrants will vote Democrat. Okay, maybe that's the case. But you don't have to win them. All you have to do is get up to 40, 45%. the way Reagan did and George W. Bush did. I mean, Romney at, 27? I mean, that's the thing they have to watch out for. And I think the message that Phyllis Schlafly sends, and she's a friend of mine, I admire her in some ways, but I don't agree on this. That message is such a cruel message, Jim. I think it's a killer, absolute killer for the Republicans.
I mean, it is really a very narrow, static kind of message. Listen, I'm sure if you would have done polls of the people who eventually became the Reagan Democrats, you would have said, "Gee, look at these people. They seem to think they're much more positive about government than your traditional Republicans. We'll never win those people." No, you won them by trying to get their votes, crafting a message that actually appeals to their concerns. And then running some candidates that actually seem like they like them. Let's try doing that before we just give up on ever winning the votes of people who aren't exactly like us.
Don't you think it's odd in the debate? I mean, the name calling in the debate is phenomenal. So every time a Republican like Paul Ryan talks about an immigration deal, you get a Phyllis Schlafly or somebody that starts screaming out amnesty, amnesty. I mean, you can't. The word immigration, if you get to the I-M part, they already start screaming amnesty, amnesty. Now, here's what I don't get. You've got 11 million people, I guess, whatever the right number is, that are already here and have been here for quite some time. Now, don't they already have amnesty? I mean, in other words, they're here, they exist, they work, I don't know what they do, but they're there. So what are you going to do with them exactly? You're not going to deport them. You can't. They're not going to self-deport like Mitt Romney suggested. What is it that we're supposed to do with these people?
Larry, there are some people who are not going to be satisfied until they see on their news a vast line of people at the border, slowly walking across that border back into Mexico, maybe then on their way to Nicaragua, Honduras. They're not going to be satisfied.
Right.
And I'm afraid if they don't want to vote for Republicans, then I guess they're not going to vote for Republicans. But I mean, I think it's morally wrong, and it's economically wrong, and politically, it's just going to kill the Republican Party.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, by the same token, you could have 100,000. Right? We've done this, you and I. You could have 100,000 border agents standing along the border holding hands, sort of hands across the border. I mean, that's the other thing that sometimes I think that's what the restrictionists want. But I would say this. Let me ask you this. I think Ryan is moving towards the brainiac position. I mean, I haven't talked to him lately about this, but that's what I'm reading. But I don't think they can trust Obama to implement any border security stuff at all. I think that is a problem. And I wonder whether, certainly in this midterm election, the GOP should stay away from that stuff, not get too deep into that. Because, between the IRS and Obamacare and all these other things, I don't think anybody trusts Obama. I don't even think Democrats trust Obama.
However, Larry, a detail. Keep talking is a good policy. They don't have to decide anything.
Yeah.
They have to look like they're available. Jim, just making gestures that there is a compromise maintains the Republican momentum and keeps the focus on Obamacare. We're talking about the 2014 election here, right, Jim?
Right. I'll be honest with you. I think where this is right now, the fact that Democrats want something comprehensive, Republicans want something piecemeal. There seems to be very little agreement on the border, on what to do with the 11 million. I just don't think we're at the point where anything is going to happen this year. So I think in a way it's a moot point, but I think you're also right. Whatever your principles are, if you have a plan, you don't have to agree with the Senate plan. Come up with your own plan. I think plans that say, listen, we embrace immigrants. We want to do something about these 11. We're not going to toss them all out of the country, and we're not going to leave them with this illegal status. And we're going to do something to dramatically. I think we need to dramatically increase high-skilled immigration, students, entrepreneurs. I want more immigration. I think we have to worry more about the composition than the numbers.
James Pethokoukis of the American Enterprise Institute, a columnist, blogger for AEI on money and politics. Larry Kudlow of Kudlow Reports to CNBC and Kudlow Radio on the weekend. I'm John Batchelor.